Today's date, the 21st of May, 2025. Timestamp now, 1950. And this is part one, the flat Earth update for the flat Earth versus globe experiment that Shiva suggested we find. If we look at the history of this, I'll put under this video in the description box a link to the Shiva video with David Weiss, as from about the 35th minute, Shiva is actually talking about the experiment that should be done to settle the issue of flat versus globe Earth. And so his methodology for doing that is to start that in June, to update it in July, correct any problems, and in August we should have an experiment that can be published and peer-reviewed, proving one way or the other if the Earth is flat or not. Now, into the history of this, that video with Shiva was done in February the 4th of this year, so just a few months ago. And I was very excited because Shiva had suggested something that nobody else had suggested, that this experiment could be examined and put through the ringer, so to speak, with a bunch of scientists who were globers and heliocentric base. Yes. And it could be published and peer reviewed. I thought that was a brilliant idea. Now, give him some credit. He was the presidential candidate in the last American presidential elections, so he should know a thing or two. And what he suggested was spot on. But Dave was waiting for his assistant to get back to him and tell him, start communicating. But there was no response from either Shiva or Shiva's assistant for quite some time. And I was getting worried because for me, because I'd started my my Universal Comprehension Academy in 2019, it was imperative that I knew 100% one way or the other if the Earth was flat or a globe. So I contacted Dave Weiss, and he said, "Well, he's not had any contact from Shiva or Shiva's assistant." So for him, the experiment was there was no interest in it, no interest. And so I thought, well, that's not a very good attitude to have, really. It's all finished and everything. I wanted to make sure that this test was done. And so I contacted Shiva's political party and went on a webinar in which Shiva was present behind the scenes, behind the photo, speaking. And I did, at the end, bring up the subject of flat Earth, but nobody seemed to want to know about the subject of flat Earth because it wasn't a political issue for for Shiva. Now he was busy with many other things. That's what I was told. And so I said, okay, fair enough. He's too busy. But by surprise, a few days later, I got an email from um, a guy called Michael who claims to be the CEO UK for Shiva, the political party. And he asked for my phone number, and so we talked on the phone for about half an hour about our political views, mainly, and some flat earth stuff. And he said, well, okay, um, this is what you need to do. And he sent me another um, email stating that we need to get a group together, come up with a experiment in a concise form, and if we could do that, yes, list it all out on a piece of paper, on a PDF, then he would make sure, or he would do his best to see that that experiment was done really. So I was inspired by this, and Dave was inspired by this. Um, Dave Weiss, and we managed to get a small group together, not representing the whole of the flat Earth community, but people, flat earthers from places like Uruguay, um, Austria, New Zealand, the UK, and America, and Thailand as well. There's one guy there, I believe. What's his name? Anyway, we had a small group, and 3 experiments were proposed for us to look at and agree to. Well, agree to one of them, and one of them was put forward by Kevin Samuel from Austria. Now he's been working on an experiment involving string over a 3-mile distance, or 3 kilometers, and with this string pulled tight, which is just under the water, you can tell if the water is flat or curved. So he put forward that experiment. Lindsay Harris from New Zealand, he put forward the experiment where he would measure the Earth's electric field with compass readings over the tropics, proving that the electric field of the Earth corresponds to a flat Earth and not a globe Earth. And Manor Stone from Uruguay, who's actually born in Canada, BC, I believe, he put forward another experiment involving a plane and landing a plane. And with this, we could measure if the Earth had curvature or not, simply by landing a plane. And I will be going more into details of the third experiment in part 2. Yes. How I became a glober, well, not a glober, a flat earther, happened in 2021, and I had a eureka moment. based really on esoteric information I received in the 1980s that the sun was cool and the moon was a plasma, and the craters on the moon were plasma bubbles, and there was no suggestion that it was flat. Um, and I hadn't really heard of that until 19 2015 or 2016, when I was investigating in the university with a university professor, different cults around the world, and is the Illuminati real? Yes, we were investigating this together. Um, he was he was for a while my pre-doctoral studies professor, pre-doctoral studies. So that's about me and this flat Earth experiment. Today's date being May the 21st, 2025. And the timestamp now is 2001. So I hope you're looking forward to part two, where we'll go into the how we will determine if there's curve or flat using a plane in part two. I'll see you then, perhaps within 2 weeks. Who knows? Bye for now.